Alrighty. So we are back with another video. Just want to ensure that we are giving the community as much information as possible. So today I'm back with my husband, attorney Seth Atfield. Mr. Atfield, can you tell the people what it is that you do?
I'm a criminal defense attorney with my own firm.
Alrighty, so we're going to jump right in. So today we are talking about plea agreements. I hear a lot of information. People have a lot of questions about plea agreements. So we're going to talk about some facts, some myths, and just kind of get into it. Ready?
I am.
So what is a plea agreement? Let's start off with the basics.
So a plea agreement is an agreement between the defendant and the state by which a person can get a lower sentence than what they would face if they went to trial and lost.
So pretty straightforward. Can you talk about just reducing the charges or the sentencing?
Yes, and really they're kind of hand in hand. A prosecutor can reduce that risk through a plea for the defendant through a couple of different means. One is to reduce the level of the charge you're facing. Another is to reduce the sentence that you face if convicted of the charge, including by reducing the number of priors that are alleged. So there's a number of different ways that it can be done. The important part is what is the consequence to the person, and it's a lower consequence than after trial.
Love it. Thank you. So what is the purpose? What is the purpose of a plea agreement?
To take risk off the table. I mean, we all know that it can be very difficult to succeed at trial, that there's a lot of risk, there's a lot of unfairness in the criminal justice system, and that creates a lot of risk for somebody that's sitting at the defendant's table. And a person might not want to face that risk. There might be strong evidence against them. And so it might be worthwhile to do something to reduce that risk with a lesser sentence.
Thank you. And let's talk about how they're made, right? This is like this big thing. It's a big conspiracy with the attorney or public defender and the prosecutor. So let's talk about how are pleas actually made.
So two different ways. First, if it's a homicide case, the defense attorney will, at least in Maricopa County, will have to go to the prosecutor and propose a plea. They won't just offer one. So the defense attorney will say, we're asking for this, and the prosecutor will decide whether they're going to agree to that, or they'll make a counteroffer. In non-homicide cases, then the prosecutor will have a standard offer based on what the offense is and based on the number of priors that a person has. And if you don't like that offer, the defense attorney will try to see if we can get improved.
Baby. Awesome. So one thing I do want to jump into that I think is important to talk about is the outcome, right? So what I mean by that is, what does it mean when you accept a plea?
So when you accept a plea, it means a number of things. For one thing, it means that you're pleading guilty to an offense. But it also means that you are waiving some very important rights, including the right to a trial, the right to an appeal. You have a limited right called post-conviction relief, but there's not a lot that you can raise through post-conviction relief. So it means that you're basically saying, I'm willing to end the case this way.
Okay, awesome. I know y'all hear our baby in the background. Just try to get what you can out this video. So let's talk about real quick. I want to talk about facts and myths, right? This is a big thing that I hear about. The 3 pleas, right? Let's talk about that. So most people say, if I don't take the first plea and I just hold out, they're going to bring a second plea, which is better. The third plea would be like the best plea. So I just got to wait this out. What do you say to that?
It's a complete myth. First of all, there's no right to any plea. There are cases where the prosecutors will not offer any plea. But it's also important to know that the notion that the prosecutor is going to get afraid if you get towards trial and they're not going to want to waste resources, all of that is completely untrue. They don't care. They'll take it to trial. They have no problem taking it to trial. They do it all the time. This is also a very conservative county, so it's hard to win as a defendant, and the prosecutors know that. So there's no such thing as 3 pleas. Holding out does not necessarily get you a better plea. In fact, in most cases, it gets you a worse plea after you've rejected the initial plea.
Okay, that's good to know. Good to hear. Another thing that I wanted to touch on, I hear a lot is, well, if I just pay an attorney, I'll have a better outcome. They're going to work harder, instead of having a public defender. What do you say to that?
I say it depends on the attorney. There are some fantastic public defenders that will work hard for you, and then there are some very poor public defenders. And at the same time, there are some fantastic private attorneys, and then there are some really crappy private attorneys. There are certainly private attorneys that will take your money and do absolutely nothing for you. So the answer to that is you just got to know who your attorney is and understand whether or not they're actually fighting for you, not pretending that they're fighting for you, but actually fighting for you. A lot of that goes to referrals. What experience have other people had with this attorney? But ask those questions. And if an attorney gets offended, then that's probably not a good attorney for you to work with.
And we do live in a world where reviews are like the biggest thing, right? And so make sure that you do your due diligence and you just look at the reviews. You know what you're getting yourself into. Don't just fork over money.
Yes, but be careful of reviews too, because there are attorneys that actually pay to get bad reviews taken down. So reviews are not necessarily the most reliable source. If you're going to look at reviews, look at the theme of the reviews. Do they have detail? Is there a particular type of detail that's in them? Are they saying that this person's trustworthy, was honest with me? What do the reviews actually say? Don't just go based on the mere fact that they have good reviews.
Okay, so instead of looking at the 5-star rating, right, you want to go in and kind of do a deep dive and read the reviews.
Read the reviews. Read the negative reviews. Read the positive reviews. See if there's a common theme. See if they're just kind of very vague or do they have specific information.
Love it. Love it. I do want to touch on this misconception of if I take a plea and I have a change of heart and like buyer's remorse, can I get out the plea?
The answer is almost definitely not.
Okay.
So interestingly, it's supposed to be a liberal standard to let somebody out of a plea. However, the courts don't apply it that way. In reality, courts are very, very reluctant to let a person out of a plea once the court has accepted the plea. So you will probably have to show that there's some kind of new evidence, some kind of very significant different circumstance that the court wasn't aware of before. And that's going to be a very difficult showing to make. And keep another thing in mind. I've heard attorneys that will say, well, go ahead and take the plea now. You can fight it in post-conviction relief later. Any attorney that tells you that is an attorney that you should never listen to again, because that is completely false. It is exceptionally difficult to overturn a conviction once it's been final, and especially if the person has pled guilty.
All right, there you have it. Any final thoughts, any helpful tips for people that are considering whether going to trial or taking a plea?
Don't be afraid to ask your attorney questions. And I don't mean looking things up on ChatGPT, because half the stuff on ChatGPT is wrong. Don't be afraid to ask your attorney questions. If they get offended, then that's their problem, not your problem. It's your case, not your lawyer's case. The attorney should be communicating with you and making sure that you understand what's going on. And if they're not doing that, then you can ask the court for another attorney.
All right. So hopefully this helped you guys. These are the questions that I run across, and I'm not even an attorney, right? But there's people in my community that feels, I guess, safe or comfortable asking me these questions. So I wanted to bring somebody on here that can actually answer them and has the information readily available. So hopefully this helps. Thank you so much.
No problem.
All right. Take care.